Hello, and welcome to The Advantage Investor, a Raymond James Limited podcast, a podcast that provides perspective for Canadian investors who want to remain knowledgeable, informed, and focused on long-term success. We are recording this on January the 11th, 2023. I'm Chris Cooksey from the Raymond James Corporate Communications and Marketing Department. Today, I'm looking forward to chatting with my colleague, Senior Trust Advisor Riaan Botha, with the Raymond James Trust Canada division of Raymond James. Today, we will be discussing making digital assets a part of your estate. Good day, Riaan. Thanks for allowing us to steal some time from you today. This is our first podcast of 2023, so I hope you had a good holiday season and Happy New Year's to you, and welcome to The Advantage Investor.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, nice to be with you, and it's an interesting topic that we'll be discussing today.
Yeah, it's sort of, a new topic. I don't know how much new stuff happens in the estate industry, but obviously digital assets would fall under that. I'm looking forward to hearing what I can do with my massive T-Swift archive, pass it along to whatever kids, I guess, in the future. But we'll see what happens. So let's jump in. Maybe we just start off with what are digital assets?
Yeah, so when in doubt, try to think of digital assets as anything that is stored in electronic form, but separate from the physical hardware on which the electronic data lives. So digital assets can be just about anything and everything that is created, communicated, sent, received, or stored by electronic means. In practice, though, digital assets are more than just files stored on a computer. Some digital assets have intrinsic financial value, such as cryptocurrencies. In other cases, digital assets may have no such financial value, but are gateways to accessing assets with financial value, such as credentials to log into online banking or brokerage accounts. Increased digital assets also include massive amounts of non-financial information as well. So if we look at examples of digital assets, it includes email accounts, social media accounts, cloud storage, digital photos, digital music, cryptocurrencies, digital media files, digital medical files, subscription accounts such as Netflix, website gateways to financial assets, as said, to log into your online banking and investment accounts, apps, blogs, and the list goes on. But when we need to probably go down a bit deeper to distinguish between digital content purchases and own digital assets. So digital content purchases, an example is you purchase your own Kindle or iPhone, but you don't own the digital purchases stored on them, such as digital ebooks or iTunes songs and movies. Digital assets can be domain names, funds kept in online accounts such as neobanks, and cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin. An interesting fact is there was a online YouGov polling released earlier in December of 2022. 67% of Canadians say that what happens to sentimental digital possessions like photos, videos, and social media accounts following their passing to them is more important than the financial digital assets. Wow. But almost half of them have not made any plans for the digital assets to pass on. And strikingly, only about 5% of people have used the digital legacy tools provided by Google, Apple, and others to make sure that these assets pass on. That's where an organization such as STEP, the Society of Estate and Trust Practitioners, a worldwide body for professionals that help families plan for their future, has launched a Protect Your Digital Memories campaign to encourage people to make plans for what happens to photos and videos after you've gone. As part of this initiative, it provides guidance on how to use digital legacy tools provided by the likes of Google, Apple, and others. And it's great to see how the industry is proactively trying to ensure we stay ahead of the game concerning digital assets and digital estate planning. This is something that is going to change on a daily basis. Technology has definitely changed the way we communicate, interact. Everything that we do is becoming digital, and we need to stay ahead of the game. So that's a basic summary of what digital assets entail.
Yeah, that's interesting because I do know that. I remember Bruce Willis, I think, was in a big fight because he had so many iTunes songs, and he learned that when you download from iTunes, you're just sort of renting it more than buying it. So that's one thing I think people always forget. And also, first thing I've learned from you today is Yeah, I didn't even think your passwords and login would be considered a digital asset, but of course that makes total sense. So already learning. That's fantastic. Now,
Nowadays, you even get the fact that your Face ID or your fingerprint is used on your phone
of course,
to unlock. So it just makes it even a lot more complicated as part of that process.
now we talked about how some of these are owned, some of them are borrowed, for lack of a better word. So can this be part of your will?
Yes, yeah. So you'll need to give your trustee the authority to deal with these assets upon your passing. So it's important that a typical digital asset clause in your will be inserted, and commonly it will say that my trustee shall have the full power and authority to manage, administer, sell, transact, delete, gift, and otherwise give directions for and all digital or electronic property, assets, or information contained in electronic form that belong to me at the time of my death. So it gives that person the ability to handle those assets, or not even the assets, but the path to the assets. Because if that person does not have the authority to handle that, then there might be some unintended consequences of them being seen as a hacker and
Right.
unlawfully accessing your asset.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, I guess now we start going into quote unquote law, or not quote unquote, but laws that cover digital assets. So what are some of the laws or rules out there that cover digital assets?
Yeah, so the unfortunate situation is that technology moves fast and laws move slowly.
Yeah.
Currently, Canada has no legislation regarding the disposal of rights and succession of digital assets. It is up to the individuals to provide their personal representatives with instructions and authorization for their digital assets and their power of attorney and wills. While banks and other financial institutions will accept the will, death certificate, and grant of probate to release funds, some online providers may only accept a court order. This can create a lot of hassle and expenses for the family members seeking access. In practice, many people simply deal with this by saying, well, I'll just write down a list of my username and passwords and give it to a trusted confidant. As I mentioned earlier, however, this is not an effective and legal way to handle the situation. In fact, when a third-party user accesses somebody else's account without being an authorized user, even because the original owner handed them the login credentials, it's considered hacking. So you're exposing people to something that I don't think that was the intention. It was just there to try and pass the information on to the right beneficiary.
So it's not like you can make a joint account like you can with a bank account or something. Like once you pass your information on, then there's potential legal issues there.
I think it's going to be, given the fact of online gaming and all those things happening nowadays, and there's value attached to that.
Sure,
it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to be handled in the next couple of years.
So
just looking at my kids.
So in that, sorry for interrupting, but so in that regard, so someone is legalized gambling now in Ontario and across the country. So if they have an account and there could be a balance in that account and they pass away, that's the sort of thing you're mentioning there.
Correct. Yeah. So that's the one side of things, and then looking at games like Fortnite and those online gaming where you purchase things that later becomes a financial value. And you would possibly want to transfer that to somebody upon your passing. Because I know some of these guys have high intrinsic value as part of that.
Okay. Now, what are some of the things to consider around, like, I don't know, passwords, encryption, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I think step one would be to update your will to ensure that you've got a digital asset clause in your will, giving somebody the authority to handle that. Utilize digital legacy tools provided by Google, Apple, and others. I hope after this podcast, people go and just check on their phone the capabilities available on their phone to utilize digital legacy tools. Create an inventory. STEP, the Society of Trust and Estates Practitioners, has developed a template for digital assets inventory that you can utilize. We've got a similar document at Raymond James. And then most importantly, it's to keep this up to date. For financial information, I would suggest to only list the names of the institutions and their contact details, exclude all account numbers and any sensitive financial data from the inventory. and then possibly have a flash drive or a storage device holding the same information as the additional backup to the folder. There are also digital vault companies that you can approach that offer secure cloud storage, that as part of the contract that you sign with them, they create a flow whereby your digital executor then after your passing can access that. And as I said, don't include specific details on digital assets or cryptocurrencies in your will. A will is something that becomes a public document if it goes through probate. So it's going to be lying in court and anybody can access that. And I don't think you want to have people accessing your crypto wallet.
Right. So I guess in the end, then, this is about just being prepared for, as with, I guess, most estate planning things, being prepared for it, understanding this is sort of different than the dining room table or the pictures you have physically, and make sure you're set up correctly for that.
Correct. Yeah. I think the other analogy that I used is it's a filing cabinet. So filing cabinet is a physical asset. The files within the cabinet is the digital asset. So you can say, I bequeath my filing cabinet to my spouse, but the files in there go to my business partner. So you need to be very specific on how you want it to be handled. And this is an ever-changing environment. Technology is changing on a daily basis, and we need to stay ahead of the curve here to make sure that people's digital legacy can live on forever.
Well, Riaan, this has been very informative. I learned quite a lot. I thought it was a fairly simple subject coming into this, and there's a lot more to consider, a lot more quote-unquote assets that I didn't even consider assets. So I hope the Advantage Investor listeners got the same sort of insight. I'm sure they did. I really appreciate you sharing your thoughts today, and I hope you'll join us again with other trust-related news in the future.
Great. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me, and hopefully I have added some value to our listeners.
Reach out to us at the Advantage Investor Pod at raymondjames.ca. Subscribe to the Advantage Investor on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Please contact your advisor. As we've said many times on the podcast, your advisor has access to a lot of experts, Riaan and his compatriots being one of those assets that you can access to answer or have any questions answered for you. On behalf of Raymond James and the Advantage Investor, thank you for taking the time to listen today. And until next time, stay well. This podcast is for informational purposes only. Statistics and factual data and other information are from sources Raymond James Limited believes to be reliable, but their accuracy cannot be guaranteed. Information is furnished on the basis and understanding that Raymond James Limited is to be under no liability whatsoever in respect thereof. It is provided as a general source of information and should not be construed as an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any product and should not be considered tax advice. Raymond James advisors are not tax advisors, and we recommend that clients seek independent advice from a professional advisor on tax-related matters. Securities-related products and services are offered through Raymond James Limited, member of the Canadian Investor Protection Fund. Insurance products and services are offered through Raymond James Financial Planning Limited, which is not a member of Canadian Investor Protection Fund.